The Marvels has been a disaster of epic proportions, and it's no surprise to see why, judging by how little excitement there was for this film leading up to its release. But while it has broken several records for very unfortunate reasons, another has been added to the list because The Marvels is ending its box office run as the lowest grossing MCU movie in history. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. So I wanted to start with this Variety article. It says there's nothing heroic about the final box office performance of the Marvels because the superhero sequel is officially the lowest grossing installment in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, if this was just a few years ago, this would have been unheard of. This would not have happened because there was so much love and hype behind the MCU. But then, of course, once the Infinity Saga was over, they just have not been able to capture the magic of what made it so popular in the first place. And yes, there have been a few products that have come out that people have thoroughly enjoyed, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, No Way Home, and people did like, Loki season 2, but besides a few projects, they just have not been able to capture the magic of the MCU, and, well, I knew that this was going to fail, and many of us knew that the Marvels was going to fail because they were really hoping that there would have been a lot of hype after Captain Marvel because that made them over $1 billion at the box office. It was a massive success, surprisingly, but that just did not happen with this sequel. I think they put a poor cast of characters together. The writing was really awful. The CGI was nothing to write home about, and a lot of places was just very shabby. Overall, the quality of this film was just extremely poor, and there was nothing to praise with it. And clearly, many other people agreed, seeing as not a lot of people went to the box office to see it. After 4 weeks on the big screen, the comic book tentpole is running out of steam with 80 million in North America and 197 million globally. There would typically be optimism that attendance could rebound over the busy holiday season, but Disney apparently doesn't expect that to be the case because they wrote in a note to the press, with the Marvel's box office now winding down, we will stop reporting of international and global grosses on this title. So they are giving up on it. They are abandoning all hope that the Marvels is going to rebound for, the next few weeks going into the holiday season, which I'm going to be honest is actually a little bit surprising because even though it's not doing great at the box office right now, they might as well keep it in theaters and keep reporting and trying to see if it's going to rebound, simply because they've already spent so much money on this movie and they have not even made back the budget. Never mind, the double that they ultimately need at the very end of the day, never mind some kind of profit on top of that. But it seems like they have kind of abandoned all hope for this film, and they really only have themselves to blame. If they had, really good writers on this project, a super solid director, a great cast of characters and actors, maybe this movie would have done better, but everything was not lined up with this movie. There was not a single thing that they did right with this film. I'm sure this comes as no surprise, but when you shove the message and blatant feminism before good storytelling, or shoving a group of actresses together that have no synergy, you're in for a bad time. They made a $220 million disaster, and there's nothing they can do about it now. But we knew that this was going to happen months ago. They took Monica Rambeau, a character nobody really cared for, Miss Marvel, who had a show that only did okay for them, and Captain Marvel, who is played by one of the most insufferable actresses in Hollywood, shoved them all together onto the big screen, mixed with terrible writing, cringy jokes, and mediocre CGI, and we got the Marvels, which did deserve to fail. It's at this point that we should be saying to ourselves, oh, I hope the next time they release a movie or a TV show, they actually learn from their mistakes. But this is Disney we're talking about, and they have not done that over the past few years. And yes, recently Bob Iger did say that the creatives at Disney do need to be focusing more on entertainment and less on the message. And he's promise that they're going to be focusing on quality over quantity, and these are all great statements, but they have done nothing to back up those statements. They have given us no reason to trust that going forward they are actually going to change their ways. And hey, maybe they will. Maybe we will see the glory days of the MCU again, but I just highly doubt it at this point. And of course, I'm sure you've already heard all of the unfortunate records that this movie now holds. Let's start off with this one. The Marvels bombs at the box office with the worst opening weekend in MCU history. I mean, even the lowest of the estimates were not met. I mean, it did so poorly, they could not fill theaters. No one seemed to be excited for this. Then, on top of that, we also had it shattered another MCU record and posts the worst first Monday box office gross in the MCU history. So this had L after L after L, and there was just no way to save it. It says, of course, the Marvels opened on November 10th with 46 million domestically to land the worst debut in the MCU, and the franchise's rare misfire out of the gate, but things only got gloomier. Ticket sales cratered by 78% in its sophomore outing to cement another ignominious record, the biggest second weekend drop of the series. Now, as the film nears the end of its theatrical run, it won't top 2008's The Incredible Hulk, which was 264 million, which previously stood as the lowest grossing entry. So there was just nothing that this movie did correctly. There was not a specific audience that they could get to watch this. I mean, even people with nostalgia abandoned all hope for this film. It now holds all of the records for the worst opening weekend and the worst second weekend and the worst run in totality. Like, there is just nothing that you can say about this movie that where you go, wow, okay, that did decent. And of course, Variety put up a tweet on this, and Marvel is getting roasted. Higher, further, faster, failure. And it's memes of Captain Marvel crying, people saying things like good, actually hilarious, a triumphant moment in film history, to be sure. Yeah, I mean, it is, at the end of the day, not very surprising after how little hype there was surrounding this movie before it even released, and how any piece of promotional material for this film was getting absolutely annihilated by users on social media. But it seems like Disney has decided to abandon all hope for this movie because it has officially ended its box office run as the lowest grossing MCU movie in history. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.